Hi there. Today we are going to be factoring when a is greater than 1. So if you're wondering, okay, what is a? Remember our standard form here. A is the number that's in front of the x squared. So in this case, it's a 2. Beforehand, it was always a 1. So now today it's like 2, 3, 5, whatever it is. Okay, so we're going to use the same method we've been doing. The first step we're going to do is multiply a by c. So the first term by the last term. So for this example, it'll be 2x squared times 2, which is 4x squared. And then it says find two numbers who multiply equal this. I'm trying to figure out, okay, what multiplies to that, adds to equal my middle term, which is 5x. We've done this before. We did this in the previous lesson. Okay, so add up to b or my middle term. All right, so then I'm going to rewrite it. The polynomial has 4 terms. So the middle term is written as those two guys. Then we'll factor by grouping, which we call that like the underline and squiggle method. Okay, we're just going to do a couple examples. So the first one here, we have 5x squared plus 11x plus 6. First thing we'll do, oh man, is multiply first times last. Draw your x. So 5 times 6 is 30x squared. And then 11x is in the middle, or the bottom, sorry. Now I have to figure out which two numbers multiply to get 30x, but add to get 11. I'm not going to do problem B, so I'll use this space over here. Let's write out our factors. Okay. I'm going to write out, okay, and then see which ones add up to 11. It looks like these guys here. 5 plus 6 is equal to 11. So 5x and 6x. My first stays, my last stays. Then these two I write in the middle. Doesn't matter which order. All right. At this point, we know what to do. We underline squiggle. So we did last week. So I have a 5 is my GCF and an X. Here, a 6 is my GCF. All right. So I'm writing my both GCFs here, my parentheses, and I'll fill in the parentheses by dividing. So 5x squared over 5x. Those 5's cancel. I'm just left with an X. Both of these cancel to equal 1. And then similarly, 6 over 6 is 1x plus 1. All right, so I have x plus 1 times 5x plus 6. Okay, so not too bad. That's my final answer. Really not that much different than before. We just have a number in front of the first term. So let's try C. Man. All right, so I'm going to do 7x squared times negative 5. That's negative 35x squared. Don't forget that negative sign. All right, so we need to figure out what multiplies to get negative 35, but adds to get negative 2. I'm going to write out some factors here. 1 and 35, 2, 3, 4. How about 5 and 7? I think that's it. So since this number, the bottom number here is negative, my bigger number should be negative. So 5 plus negative 7 is negative 2. That works. I have 5x, negative 7x. All right, first days and last days. So 7x squared minus 5x. Fill in my two new terms. Okay, now we underline squiggle. So divide in half. We're going to find our GCF. So between 7 and 5, I can't take anything out besides a 1, but I can take out an x from both of those. Here, since there's a negative in the front half, I can take out a negative and then 1. All right, so I'll write my setup here and then fill in my parentheses. When I divide 7 over 1, I still have an x, and I have a 5. And I have a positive 7, and then a positive 5. I'm just dividing, top divided by bottom. All right, so 7x plus 5, that matches with x minus 1. That's my answer. So the reason why we're doing this X factor method for these problems, because guessing and checking this answer here is hard. Okay, so on a test, we don't want you sitting there panicking if you don't get it correctly the first time. That's why this method always gets you to the right answer. You know, any way you do it. Okay, we're gonna do, let's say one more. Let's do J. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here, just like normal, we say, okay, first times last, we fill in our X. 50 times 15 is 750b squared. Now, I love math, but writing out all the factors for 750, I would consider that excessive. And that's a lot. So if you see this, I usually say, like, if it's greater than 150, see if you can do what I'm going to show you. So I want to look and see, can I take a number or divide all three of these numbers by something? Yes, I can divide all of them by 5. So I usually call this zigzagging, but you're just factoring out a number. You can either do this as your first step or your very last step. I recommend for these problems doing it as your first step because it'll make the rest of it so much easier. I mean, I don't want to write down all the factors of 750. I'm sure you don't either. Okay, so I am dividing everything by 5. So I can write my 5 here. So 50 divided by 5 is 10b squared minus 11b plus 3. Okay, now this is the problem I'm dealing with. So 10 times 3 is 30b squared, negative 11b. Oh my gosh, that's so much better. Also, I'm going to have you draw an arrow down with this 5 so we don't forget about that. Okay, so if you look at our factors from the first side, we already wrote them out for 30. So if I look at 5 and 6 again, what if I made them both negative? Then they would add up to negative 11. So let's do that. We don't have to write them out again. Work smarter, not harder, right? All right, so I have negative 5b, negative 6b. And now I'll write my setup. My first and last stay. Now I'm writing these two guys here in the middle. Doesn't matter what order. At this point, I underline squiggle. I can take out a 5 from both and a b from both. Since there's a negative in front, I can take out a negative 3 from both. So I have 5b minus 3. I'm going to divide. 10 divided by 5 is 2b, and then minus 1. 2b minus 1. All right, my parentheses match, so that's good. 2b minus 1 times 5b minus 3. And then don't forget about this 5 here. The 5 goes out in front, and then I am done. Okay, so this is like, as hard as I can get because the 5 can come out first. I just want to just preview K with you. We're not going to do the whole thing. I'll just show you how it goes. So I'm going to multiply first times last. I see, I get negative 360 x squared. That's a big, I don't want to write all those factors out. So let's look and see, okay, can I divide all of them by the same number? I can divide them all by 3. So I divide them by 3, so I get 2x squared minus 13x minus 20. Then I multiply first times last, and that is so much better. I would much rather write factors of 40 out than 360. Okay, so then we know from there we could finish this problem like we did this one here. Okay, and there we have it. That's a is greater than 1. So now we can factor almost anything.